This is my, oh gosh, 6th attempt at trying to go live, particularly with this particular topic and discussion. So I was trying not to do a live for my next video. I really wanted it to be something of where I just attempt not doing lives again, or just doing certain things, videos where I am very focused on what I want to say, just to get it all out in point form and all of that. Hello, hi, welcome. You didn't miss anything. I actually almost started early as well. I was just saying that this is my probably 6th or even more attempt to try to do this live with this kind of content. It became just more and more things stacked on as time went by. I really wanted to do a video that wasn't a live, just where I got to say everything I wanted to say. Yes, thanks. I was in Mexico, so yes, I have a tan, and more so I'm actually burnt. My nose, I don't know if you can see, is totally peeling. Yeah, but I do like to get as much color as I can, of course. Don't wear sunblock or anything like that, because I don't believe the sun is our enemy in giving us cancer. I believe the chemicals we put on our skin is what gives us cancer, and is what we should be more concerned about. I did swim with the dolphins, yes, and sea turtles. I have done that before, over 10 years ago, but I wanted, I guess it was like I hadn't done it in a while, and I just feel really connected and called, particularly to these dolphins who were very telepathic and really excited to be working with people so close up. Scared in the ocean? Absolutely not. I'm not scared at all about the ocean or any kind of water. I love water. I'm the first to jump in any chance I get, even shark-infested water, which I've done and swam with sharks and tons of stingrays and whale sharks and everything. I'm not afraid. Even cold water. Ice dipping here in Canada. I think I talked about that before. I did drown almost in Hawaii. I jumped in the water and a current got me and pulled me under, and someone saw and rescued me, but that does not like deter my relationship with water. There was another close call I had in Costa Rica where I was swimming in the water, and then I wanted to get to the shore, and I realized I couldn't get to the shore. There was this really strong current that was pulling me further and further out. And so I just realized, that I have to communicate with the water. I need to know what to do in this situation, of course, to stay calm, because, well, that's always the best thing to do, that's why. And yeah, I got this feeling that I need to swim underneath the current, that the current was about, I had got a calculation about how deep it was going, so I went all the way underneath it, and I was able to come out the other side and onto the shore and fine. So yeah, these things just, they don't perturb me. They make me just love water and have more of a respect with water than before. So no, not scared. Mexico was lovely. It was very last minute. I was not intending to go on a trip. I haven't traveled since 2018, before the pandemic, and it just was very spontaneous. I was thinking about stealing away for Christmas break, because I don't celebrate that holiday and we don't do anything, but of course I'm not the only one who had this great idea, and to travel at this time, of course, is crazy and super busy, and I didn't really want to travel Christmas Day and have all these layovers and the price that it would be too, but my friend was like, well, maybe, because I was trying to talk her into going with me. Usually I just go alone, but yeah, she's like, well, in if I'm just gonna say this right, Morelia in Mexico, 2 hours north of Mexico City, I believe, there was this conference called the Greater Reset, and she really wanted to go to that, and there was a lot of permaculture and Anastasia people and so forth. I did not go to that because I was like, that's 2 weeks of work. I don't think I should miss 2 weeks of work. And particularly I didn't know the state of my contract, if I was coming back to the studio or not. I found out I won't be because there's no work, which is all right. I'm a bit relieved because I always feel like when I'm working, even though it's nice to have steady paycheck, I feel like I'm wasting my time, that there's more important things I need to be doing. And I really should be focusing on that. So that's a big thing that I'm going to get into as well later on today. Have I ever encountered sharks? I did say that. Yes, I've swum with sharks, bull sharks, white-tip coral reef sharks, great white sharks, whale sharks, hammerhead sharks, all kinds of sharks. I'm not afraid of sharks. You're more likely to be attacked by a wild boar or struck by lightning than ever attacked by a shark. You know, those Jaws movies have really given them a bad name. Well, it shouldn't. You should, since that's something you're afraid of, you should definitely, because someone's saying the wilderness of the ocean terrifies me. I think that that's more reason for you to go and explore it and face that fear and see what's, you know, really so scary. It's always worse in our mind than it actually is. But that's life. You can't control it. Every day we think we have some routine. We think we know what we're going to do, but there's a whole bunch of things that can happen in between that we cannot predict. We can't control anything, and there is a comfort in that too, and just knowing that we have to surrender, because there is a sort of a flow happening in life that we got to just go with. You can wake up and know exactly what you're going to be doing today, but maybe you eat and you swallow too quickly and you choke, or you cross the street at the wrong time and a car crashes, or you get hit by a car. There's so many things, or good things too can happen. I'm just not necessarily, I use the bad examples as far as bad things happening, but I don't know. I've never thought about trying to control everything in life because I just know I can't. That it's like surfing, and you just gotta go with it. And I guess because my mother lives this way, she's very much afraid of everything, and I think that is understandable when you're a parent, a mother. That you're cautious and thinking about all the potential dangers that can happen to your children, and particularly because she lost some of her children, particularly my sister, that she's been like always overprotective and always worried about this and that. And if I listened to her, I would probably be like hiding away from life in a closet kind of a thing. But I don't want to live my life afraid of everything. My biggest fear is being on my deathbed and regretting all the things I could have done that I didn't do for one reason or another, particularly because of fear, because I thought it was going to be like this or that. To be here on Earth, to have a body is an honor. To experience all that this planet and this body has to offer also is an honor. And like, to quote a Natasha Bedingfield song, like, feel the rain on your fingers, no one else is going to feel it for you, no one else can let the sun shine in, no one else can let the words speak from your lips, right? So even though I have very different perspective now towards all celebrities, which I'm going to be bringing up today too, I'm going to try as best I can, while simultaneously answering your comments. Like I said, I wasn't going to do a live. My next video, I wanted to do one where it was very planned and organized, where I just kind of have a bunch of notes and share it that way like I used to do videos. So I'm still getting used to doing lives. And the reason it took me a while to do a live, well, many reasons. I ended up getting laryngitis for a little bit and lost my voice, and got a little bit or a lot under the weather. And yeah, I believe it's because they were rolling out shots, two in one, C1 and flu one, and I was doing like hot yoga and stuff like that, and just being around people who freshly got that stuff in hot rooms, inhaling all that stuff with them, ended up, yeah, I'm sensitive to shedding. Not as sensitive as some of my other friends who get nosebleeds just being around people who have been freshly injected. But yeah, it wasn't fun. It was like over a month of feeling profoundly shitty. and not being able to do anything, which I didn't like at all because I like want to do all these things all the time. And so, so yeah, that happened, and then a bunch of other things too. Let me just see here. The ocean teaches you to surf and navigate the divine feminine. That's why rockets aren't a good way to navigate space, and they can't go very far. Space is a huge ocean. Our mind is a huge ocean. Our heart is a huge ocean. Our curiosity is a huge ocean. Life is a huge ocean, right? Everything is just this opportunity to explore and understand more about ourselves and more about our extended body, which is the planet. Yeah, shedding's very real. So, and particularly because they can't mandate it anymore, they're just promoting it everywhere. And so, yeah, I think that even they probably put stuff in the air and in our water that made us even more susceptible and sick, and towards motivating people to go and get this double shot. Yeah, that's what I think happened there. There's things you can do, though, if you're around jabbed people that will, you know, can nullify the effects and things like that. I can even send you some links if you like. I was the first to upvote. Why? Joey Boomer? I'm not sure what you mean by that, upvote. Sweating is a good way to shed implants and harmful things that are affecting your field. Yeah, and it can also, it's a double-edged sword, though, if you're with a bunch of other people who are sweating and shedding their own crap that they've taken on. Anyway, so yeah, Mexico was very last minute. I just ended up, you know, just, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go with these people, and I ended up first glamping in Acomel. It's just basically in a really nice tent or yurt, and I was there for 3 days by myself. I kept trying to message other people because I know I have friends that live out there that I wanted to meet up with, but I guess the universe just wanted me to be alone and have this time to myself to heal and focus and things like that on myself. So that's what I did. I mean, the internet was very poor. I kept trying to do live videos out there, but I just couldn't. It just wouldn't work, or for one reason or another. I'm like, all right, I'm not supposed to do it yet. I'll take the message. But I would have loved to do it with a beautiful green background. However, I am going back. I'll get to that. So yeah, it was beautiful. There were cenotes, 2 cenotes on the property that I could swim around in and spent lots of time with these little fish that eat the dead skin off of you, which is you know, a great way to a beauty treatment, I guess. And there were some giant iguanas having some sort of lover's quarrel, and that the female kicked the male out of the tree and it fell in the cenote with me. And the female is actually the smaller one, the flatback, and the spiky ridgeback ones are the males, and they're much bigger. But yeah, and then there was a vulture, a Mexican vulture that was talking very firmly with me, telling me, you know, careful where you go. I have eggs here, and I'm like, don't worry, I'm not going to touch your eggs. I just want to swim around here and enjoy this little swimming hole. And so we came to that agreement, and she was cool, but she's massive, and she kind of took me aback. And then there were monkeys also overhead me too. And so this place in Acomel, glamping, you can look it up. It's really lovely, the tents and everything like that. They also, they really exist because of, yeah, I'll tell you the story. So the owner, I sat down and talked with him, and he told me how he's from Spain, and he was in Spain with his girlfriend, who was very much in love with, had no intention of having any kids, and had been to Mexico before and absolutely hated it. And he met a palmist who offered to read his palm, and he thought it was ridiculous, but he just decided to go with it for a lark. And the palmist told him that he would meet his love of his life in Mexico, and that he would live in Mexico, and that he would have 3 kids, and he was very surprised by this because he was very much in love with his partner and he couldn't imagine having kids and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, lo and behold, fast forward, he ended up meeting a lady there and having 3 kids and living in Mexico. And his partner ended up, there was a hurricane and a baby monkey fell from the mother monkey's lap and in her arms, I guess they found it, or it fell in her lap somehow. It was very strange. But she asked if she could keep it. The police were like, okay, you can, if you keep this monkey, you have to build a protection center, reserve, a sanctuary. And so they said, we'll help, we'll fund it as best we can. And then after a while, they're like, okay, you've got to manage it on your own. And more monkeys were being given to them and more animals were given to them. So they're like, we have to make a way to support this. So they came up with this glamping idea out in the jungle. So that's kind of a neat story of how he ended up out there. And he also had very, very awake and interested in trying to protect the animals and educate people, particularly about the bees and how Monsanto was killing all the bees by giving poor farmers out there or just poor people land and say, here, this land is for you. Take these Monsanto seeds. And when the fruit is ready, you have to let us know. We'll take it and we'll pay you for it, for looking after it for us. And all that they grow, though, unfortunately doesn't have any seeds. So the bees end up starving, or with the stuff that they spray, they end up getting Alzheimer's and dementia and forgetting where their hive is and all of that. So there's this big project going on to try to awaken people to this truth and to not fall for Monsanto's bullshit. But these are the Melipony honey bees. They're tiny stingless bees, and I got to try their honey, which is one of the best honeys in the world for health benefits, right up there with Manuka honey. And I got very addicted to it, particularly because also, like, during the time I was there for 3 days, it was storming too, so it took out the internet. I'm glad I downloaded a bunch of videos that I could watch, and they did give you a bike, so I could bike into town a little bit, and I went to go through the beach and the turtles and stuff like that, and snorkeled with some massive turtles. Now let me just see if I missed any of your messages here. Yeah, you develop natural immunity after being sick. I do believe that that's your body, your immune system just making you stronger and stuff like that. Hey, you want to see Mexico with me? Let me know next time. Like I said, I was trying to get a hold of my friends and I couldn't get a hold of them until in the middle of the trip. And I was like, I had 3 days to myself where we could have met up and it would have been great, but now like everything was rushed and stuff like that. I am a cool duder. Okay. Hi. Yes, I see that is your name. Let me see. To get over chronic sickness, practice deep breath. Go slowly at first. Do 3 minutes. Build your way up. 3 breaths at a time. Yes, I know about all these breathing exercises and stuff like that. I really think like pain is just a messenger that needs to be addressed to the right address. So I just know, okay, body, what do you want to say, right? What do we need to work on? How I'm listening, right? Because I think we're often so busy and we often find every distraction we can to not give our body the time to speak and share what it wants to. And when it's listened to fully, then that's where the healing and the miracles take place. But it is a communication and it goes both ways. And the body's always trying to communicate with us. I have more stories. Just a second here, just trying to catch up on your comments. I already talked about that, so I've shared that in other videos. I don't want to really repeat. I got a lot of things I want to get into today, so if you want me to go into that, you can just check those previous videos. Okay, so going back to my trip, I'll just quickly go through that. So I met up with another friend of mine when I met up with my girls who went to the Greater Reset that I didn't go to, and they told me about it, where, you know, there was Ringy Cedars people and all these eco-community people and just really cool projects and stuff like that. They're like, you would have loved it, Jess, had you came. But I was like, yeah, I don't want to go there I don't want to miss 2 weeks of work. I'm already missing like a week or so, a little more than a week, and I didn't want to freeze. You don't, you go to Mexico, you shouldn't be cold in a tropical country because it's like quite north and higher altitude. So she's like, oh, it's quite cold. You have to, it's almost like Canada weather. I'm like, no, no, I'm not gonna go then. So that's where how I ended up kind of on my own, glamping, also because they weren't gonna be out until Tuesday, and I was like, well, I finish work on Friday, so I might as well go Friday night, and then I'll have 3 days or 4 days extra down in Mexico rather than it being a short trip, because it, you know, it always feels like it's rushed and stuff like that. Boy, I really did tan. I can just see now in the lights. But I'm glad you can't see all my skin feeling and everything. But yeah, so I met up with my friends, and we were staying at a 5-star all-inclusive. I never stay at things like that. I prefer to like be as a tour, a local, stay in local areas. But it just was what they wanted to do, and I just was like, all right, I'm coming along, and I just go with it basically. And it was nice, but it was super excessive. It was just crazy amounts of food. It's insane. And I was really upset to find out that they throw all the food out, that they don't give it to all the hungry animals out there. So I spent my first few days by myself just buying meat, cheap meat, and feeding the starving dogs and cats everywhere. And then they were just following me and stuff like that. But I just, oh, I can't. I just don't understand. Why do you have to throw it out if people don't eat it? Why, like, can you not, like, and they tell us not to feed the Cody and the capybara and these beautiful birds everywhere, these bright blue and orange birds, and I'm like, yeah, screw that. I was constantly taking plastic bags with me and like stuffing them and then dropping them out the window, and then every day it'd be like they'd gather in the morning, like my friend would be sleeping outside and it'd be like the trees would be rustling and all the animals would be coming down from everywhere waiting for their little treats. They're like this, their heads are out going, me, me, me. It was so adorable, so precious. So like, that's totally worth it. Like, they don't want us feeding them because of course they're worried about someone getting bitten and then all that, but they really cannot prevent these critters from being on the lot, and they also make the tourists quite happy. But yeah, I hate waste. Just growing up really poor and just going with very little for such a long time or nothing, just anytime I see it, I'm always like, oh, what can we do? So I'm going to give, of course, my feedback to the hotels about that to see if there's something we can do. Anywho, so I met up with another friend. I don't know, for you people who've known me for a while, I've traveled a lot, and this friend I just happened to meet in a different country every time. And she's originally from Chicago. She is Ukrainian, though, background. The first time I met her was when I was in Berlin, Germany, giving a conference, and holding a conference. Such strange English. Don't learn English from me. I'm very bad at it. I butcher it all the time. Anywho, anywho, that's not anything. That's just my own, like, probably Simpson pig Latin. Yeah, so she happened to be in Berlin at the same time with her friends. That was, I believe it was a family member's wedding that she was there for. And we met up, and we just immediately clicked. And then it was like 10 years later or so, or several years later. Remember, I can't keep track of years very well. When I was living in Bali, she saw I was out there and she decided to come stay with me in Bali for about, I think it was 6 months to a year. She was there for quite a while. Do I do shrooms? Seems like you need them. I've done a little bit here and there, but it's very, very rare. I do like them. I do have respect for them, but yeah, no. I'm a blonde. I'm naturally high. I don't think anyone needs them per se. They're great to show life in HD vision and insight. Yes, I know, Bobby Blue 22. I think I've seen before here. He might be having some troll tendencies though. But anywho, I want to focus on what I'm trying to say because lives are tricky like that. Yes, so we met up in Bali. And then she happened to be in Mexico at the same time I was in Mexico. She was living out there. And when I met up with her, she told me her story of how she ended up in Mexico, and I think it's very, very interesting, so I want to share it with you guys as well. I'm hoping to do a video with her at some point too, so if she's not shy about it, because she seemed quite shy and I had to really nudge her, but we'll see if I end up doing that. So I'll do the best to tell her story in the meantime. She was living in Chicago, and she's in a very abusive relationship, and she was struggling financially, and her family also was quite abusive to her, her sisters, and they're constantly just a very kind of a Cinderella existence, having to work all the time and just no appreciation and just treated like crap. And one day she was like, I'm at my wit's end, I can't continue on this way. And she filled the bath water to the top, and she grabbed a razor, and she's about to cut her wrists when she heard a male voice speak very loudly and say, "But what if?" And she was like, "But what if what?" And then nothing. And then shortly she was about to put again to her wrist, and she heard, "But what if?" And she said, "But what if what? I am done with life. I'm coming home. I don't want to do this anymore. It's just brutal here, and I just can't take anymore," basically. And the voice was like, "But what if we get it that you want to go home. You can totally go home. But what if your life was going to be very different in the next couple weeks? Would you be willing to let us give us this amount of weeks to show you how different your life will be, and you wouldn't feel this way, and you won't want to do anything like this to yourself?" And she was like, "Okay, let's see what you got," basically. She was just very surprised that a voice kind of would just interfere like this, and just, of course, it's her guides or God or whatever you want to call it, knowing that, oh, we can't let you take your life. And just these stories that people share with me is just absolutely, amazing how much we are loved and appreciated, and how we have so much we need to do here. But anyway, so she, shortly after that event, she saw an ad about tarot reading courses. And this was right around the time before COVID was just about to hit. And so she took this course, and then the lockdowns happened, and everyone was losing their jobs, and suddenly everyone's calling her for readings, and in a short amount of time she earns 20K. And suddenly she has, just from being very poor and struggling, to suddenly all this money and this freedom. So she now has the courage to end this relationship. And then she sees something some friend was talking about Mexico, and she goes on a Facebook expat group and asks about going there, and everyone's like, "No, it's locked down, it's awful here, don't come, there's nothing here," and all of that. And a girl, I guess, saw her message, and she said, "Don't listen to anything they say, the beaches are open, it's not like what they're saying, come, I'll take care of you," basically. And she ends up getting on a plane and going to Mexico right when they close down the airports, and has a now very beautiful life there, and has a very different life than that low point that she had when back in Chicago. And it was just really neat to connect with her again, and, like I say, share her story and her journey, and how she's working towards healing the planet through her own hardships. And she's been through a lot, and we all have been through a lot, and again, like, that is going to be that's our university degree, that's how we're going to be helping others. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share that with you guys, just in case. I'm sure we can relate in one way or another. I ended up, while I was having dinner with her, another friend recognized me that I've met up with a few times in Canada, and so I just kind of thought that was, small world, what are the chances that we'd be in Playa del Carmen at the same time. So that was also pretty cool. Sorry you're stuck in a very bad relationship. You got to get out of it. That's all I'm saying. Like, send me a private message afterwards and I'll help you. I know I've been there. It's just so draining. It's just, yeah, we have to understand these patterns and why we get ourselves stuck in these things so that doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, I understand. I've been there. I totally get it. Like I said, just message me after and we'll make a plan and we'll figure something out, okay? So yeah, just trying to debate. Another friend I met up with, apparently I met up with him at an airport. I was struggling, I think, or emotional because I thought I was going to miss my flight or something. We exchanged information, I believe, via Facebook, so he was able to stay in touch with me through all this time. He's also from Germany. And he also shared with me his story because he happened to be in Mexico at the same time. He was in a very difficult relationship at the time of the pandemic, and the wife vaccinated his kid without his consent, and he was extremely sad and emotional about that. Understandable. And he was just feeling very stuck. He didn't want to do jobs that he hated anymore. He just couldn't do it. And his guides came to him and said, why don't you just do what you love and what you want to do? And he's like, I play guitar, but there's no money in that. And they're like, why don't you just play on the streets, just busk? And he's like, I guess I could do that. And so he plays on the streets and he ends up meeting an agent who signs him, and now he's playing in concerts all over the world, but particularly in Mexico. And he spends, from when he's not performing, he spends a lot of his time scuba diving and stuff like that. So that also was a very beautiful story of how these people are liberating themselves and how their guides come and show them you can live a very different way than how you are living now. It doesn't have to be that way, right? When am I going to have kids and get married? I don't know. That's for the universe to decide, right? Everything in its own timing and own way. So, yeah. What else was I wanting to say? I'm trying to stay on track. I guess I want to talk about this revelation that I had recently, some information that I've woken up to that might think I'm crazy to bring up, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's been weighing quite heavily on me, and been studying it for a while now, a little over a month, and just truth is such a, there's so many levels to wake up to. Like, you understand certain things, you see it very clearly in someone like me who's been awake for a long time, pretty much my whole life, but there's still things to become awake about that we need to see, that is, I guess, hard for us to see or admit, but it was sort of coming through very strongly. For example, I was going through this phase, I don't know if you guys remember from before, that I like to watch old TV shows and old movies and things like that. I need water. I brought water this time so I don't have to run away. Hi, Katie Manson, thank you. Bobby Blue, what's your question? It's very important to have very good water. Well, that's very sweet of you, thank you. I don't make very many videos. I get very shy and very caught up and in my head and stuff like that, so I'm working on making a lot of different videos I have in the works, and I recently figured out how to make copies of old videos that could have most likely lost, like my Project Camelot interview, for example, which the stupid community standards, they got pulled all their videos, and so even that main interview, so I managed to find someone who made a copy of it, and I made a copy of it finally and put it up on my channel. I should have done that a long time ago. And then also my Lulu Mace interview, because I was like, shoot, I don't want to lose that one either. I should have them all here. You live in South Korea, super low birth rates all around the world, but not where I live. I haven't been to South Korea. I know that there's so much going on, though, all over the world in all these countries. I know so many people are afraid right now about what's happening with the borders and all these people coming through and feeling like we're, you know, it's a lot of fear porn. There a lot of things that they tried to do is not working, and so now it's just another strategy. But you need to know that we are protected. That story that I shared about my friend in the bathtub should tell you that and remind you of that. So regardless of what they want us to think is going to happen, or that it's really bad and really scary, just don't believe it, because there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger plan going on underway, and we all have a part to play in it. Anyway, I want to go back to talking about what I was going to say. So my realization and awakening recently. I'm getting older, I may not have kids soon. I trust again that if I'm meant to have kids, I will. I believe I probably will, and I don't care about age or anything. Like, the universe doesn't care about any of that. Like, it'll happen, and whenever, and maybe soon, maybe a little later, but there's all kinds of miracles happen. I don't believe that the older you get, the more unlikely it is to have children, and the more chance they get of having all these health problems. It's all just a bunch of bullshit that they're constantly trying to push on us and scare us constantly. And that's actually something I wanted to get to eventually. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I'm going to try to get through it as quick as possible, but my track record isn't so good. I usually do videos for up to 2.5 hours to 3. You're very welcome for my insights. Okay, I don't know about some of these comments here, so they're just very different. Anyway, so I'm going to just focus on what I'm going to say. So I was watching old shows, and I couldn't get this feeling over me that I was looking at trans people that were not the sex that they are portraying themselves to be in these videos, in these movies, in these TV shows. And it was weird. I was feeling like there was some sort of joke or something like that was being played on me, because I'm like, this person is clearly not a female that I'm looking at. This other person is clearly not a male. And I was like, why do I keep getting that? No matter what I watch, I kept seeing that. And like Lin-Manuel Miranda, I looked at his wife and I'm like, I don't know, that's some strange features. Or watching the Ed Sheeran documentary and seeing his wife, and I'm like, I don't know. It just was very strong, and I'm like, why is this happening? And then even like Who's the Boss, and just seeing Alyssa Milano on the beach in a bikini, like, that's not a girl. It was like, again, you guys are probably gonna think this is crazy, but I mean, there is this trans agenda going on, and there is this guy, I found these videos called Mr. E on BitChute, but his videos are constantly being taken down. So if it's not true, why are they removing it? Because that's what they tend to do. And I woke up to this trans apocalypse, this a trans investigation about how all public figures and anyone pretty much famous is an invert in gender. And again, like I said, it's extremely shocking and hard to grasp, but there is a lot of information and a lot of evidence, and I learned how to tell a biological male from a female. But the thing is, this has been going on I was trying to figure out, well, how long has this been going on for? Since the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, like when they first started making films. Yeah, so like there's a video about Greta Garbo, for example, who was mentioning constantly that she is a guy, and how they were even having that agenda way back then, that all our lives, how would we know what we're watching? Like this, we know that television and film and all that was created to tell a vision, to tell a lie, to brainwash us and to make us think what, you know, is considered attractive, and what we, you know, to look up to and admire might be all like within their agenda. That you have to, basically, if you are going to be famous, you have to sell yourself. You have to be a Satanist, and to be a Satanist, your god is Baphomet, and Baphomet is half male, half female, androgynous, and they want to be like their gods. Particularly when you see all the celebrities who are raising their kids the opposite sex of what they are. You see Charlize Theron with her adopted African boy being raised as a girl, and Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's kids, and just so many celebrities. And then you look at the parents of these celebrities, and you see that they're clearly inverts, and it's just it's a lot. Like I said, I understand if you guys think I'm crazy for talking about this, but I had to, because it's just been weighing on me so much, and I've been trying to do a video about it for a while with you guys, thinking about how do I bring this up. And so it's like, what's really hard to grasp is like, what I struggled the most with was people like Marilyn Monroe, but there's pictures of her with an Adam's apple, and that those manly features that are undeniable. For example, aside from having really big shoulders that go out past the hips is a big indication that that's a biological male. They have a lot of surgery they do to, you have to actually constantly shave the Adam's apple down. So what I've been doing is I've been watching videos about people who are trans, out in the open, they're public about it, and they're sharing that transition, and it's very fascinating and very, very convincing. And particularly when you get to females that are males, it is so hard to tell, and they are very attractive too. And so, I mean, at least they're being honest about it. I have no qualms with that. Like, if that's how you are, okay, and you're telling us, great. But if you're deceiving us, if you're not telling us, then that's a big problem, because they're forcing us to be attracted to the same sex without even knowing it. They're confusing us, and that deception is not okay. And this is something that the world has to wake up to. Like, this constant celebrity worship of idols is just something that's really, really not healthy for us. This constantly pushed in our face about Taylor Swift everywhere. Like, who cares? I remember when my dad was watching the news, and they were talking about some celebrity that died, and my dad's like, and this affects me how? I mean, like, we have to stop giving them our attention and our energy, and they're constantly working to find ways with music and everything like that. If you look at just the rock stars of the 70s and 80s, they were all like looking like females with long hair and heels and makeup and everything like that. But there actually are females, and again, designed to kind of gender bend constantly and blur the lines, and, you know, tie that to rebellion and everything. But if you research more into like Tavistock Institute and military and their military children, and how they had this plan within Hollywood, and to have their kids be rock stars, and to implement the agenda and things like that. Like, wow, you guys have gotten very silent now with sharing this. There's just so much. Okay, so another way you can tell, and for me a big one, is the hips, of course. So if you notice that models and actors, they always tend to have their hands on the hips or push their hip out to one side, is to give this indication that they have hips. There is surgeries now that they can do to make them